I really appreciate you joining me today, and this story highlights mental health and the troubles that a lot of people must have been going through during lockdown. Village councillor and children's book author James Nash was murdered in Andover last year. He was killed by his neighbour Sartain, who then went on to die himself in a high-speed police chase where he drove at 145 miles an hour on a motorbike. There was a lot of rumours and gossip and speculation about why this happened. There was rumours of arguments over building rights and land. But as the case has now been seen and inquiry has been done, they have determined different reasons as to what happened. And before we start, I'd like to recommend anybody going through any issues, no matter how small or insignificant you think they are, to contact the numbers below, and we will always direct you anywhere if you want to contact on social media if you feel you're having a bad time. And please don't forget our videos are sponsored by Alpha Claims and Hire Birmingham, the leading and best accident management company. Get a replacement car anywhere in 1 hour. On August the 5th, 2020, James Nash was attacked in his garden by his neighbour. James Nash died in the hospital 3 days after his injuries. He had been shot and also stabbed, and then Alex had stamped on his head in front of James's partner. The incident happened on McCallum Road in the village of Upper Enham near Andover, and Mr. Sartain went into Mr. Nash's front garden and launched a vicious attack. The inquest into the murder has concluded on Monday, April the 19th, and they said the parish councillor and children's author was unlawfully killed. On the same day as the Upper Enham incident, Mr. Sartain was tracked by police helicopter and police vehicles, who were supported by armed response units. He rode his modified motorcycle at high speeds down country roads, and the killer was tracked for 11.25 miles from the A342 to the A343, north of Hurstbourne Tarrant. He was driving on the wrong side of the road and nearly hit a passing Fiat 500. This caused him to lose control of the motorcycle, and he hit a tree and died instantly. An inquest into the death of Mr. Sartain was concluded on April the 21st by the coroner Jason Pegg. The court heard about the events that led up to August the 5th, and Mr. Sartain, who was 34 years old, was struggling with mental health, and he had been doing so for several years. His father, John Sartain, gave evidence in the inquest detailing how his son was sectioned at the end of 2019. He was then released in 2020, but his health deteriorated following his release, and he developed a drug addiction. Mr. Sartain would often speak about how he thought Mr. Nash, whose home was close to his family home, was working for President Putin and NASA and was a spy. At Mr. Nash's inquest on Monday, the coroner, Mr. Pegg, found that Mr. Sartain believed Mr. Nash worked for the President of Russia and that he was controlling him in some way. The coroner said that Mr. Sartain must have wanted to address these issues on August the 5th, face to face with James Nash. John Sartain told the court on August the 5th that his son came to his workshop near the Nash's home and he appeared agitated at the time. John was not aware what had happened to Mr. Nash moments before. Soon after Alex Sartain left the workshop, he took a modified R1 motorbike and motorcycle levers with him. He also made an improvised shotgun at the workshop, and when he left, he didn't really say a lot. He just went off, his dad said. He came into the workshop for some petrol or something, and that was it. He seemed very agitated, but I had customers to deal with, and I couldn't get involved with it at the time. On August the 5th, Mr. Sartain was already disqualified from driving and did not have the correct licence to drive the vehicle. His father also said that he was not in a fit state to drive at all. Even though he was experienced in riding motorcycles and had done since the age of 10 or 11, he also knew the roads in the area very well. But due to his mental health breakdown, he was not fit in the eyes of his father to have rid that bike anyway. Police accounts of the pursuit said that Mr. Sartain appeared in control of the vehicle for most of the ride, and the manner in which he was riding suggested he had experience of driving motorbikes. At some point after attacking Mr. Nash, Mr. Sartain discarded his motorbike levers along with two further improvised weapons, one of them being a knuckle duster, just off the A Road on Stanbury Road near Thruxton. These were later found by the police. A police helicopter picked up Mr. Sartain riding the motorcycle on the A342, heading southbound out of lled. He was dressed in a t-shirt, shorts and was wearing a helmet. In video footage played to the court, Mr. Sartain was spotted by a police helicopter gesturing at the camera and waving at the aircraft as it hovered above him. After that, he sped off on a high-speed pursuit down the A342, hitting the highest speed of 161 miles an hour as he travelled near Faberstown. The court heard how the motorcycle was capable of reaching up to 185 miles an hour, and perhaps more due to modifications to the exhaust. The police helicopter and police vehicles tracked Mr. Sartain for the rural village. Police vehicles rarely got close to him due to the high speed that he was travelling at.
I tried to see my wasn't travelling at speed. He was in a traffic stop before vehicles.
Impasse, QJ.
Impasse. And I've got a bloke on that road. He's got blue t-shirt, blue shorts. He's waving at us on a motorbike with no red number plate. Stand by.
All units anywhere near Faberstown, Ludgershaw, just seek cover, please. Farms units are being tasked. That's all unarmed officers, seek cover, please.
Slowing at junction, Wayhill Bottom. He's gone left, so he's gone north towards Wayhill Bottom.
Yeah, any Wiltshire officer that was at Faberstown, Mirco.
Increasing speed along this road now.
Oscar Delta 75.
Andover, stand by.
Oscar Delta 7.
Approaching Penton Muesli.
Confirm you have seen Impasse and the motorcycle. No negative, sorry, I'm PC.
Impasse 45 continues on the A343, Provost Hill, Doyley Hill now, road called Doyley Hill, just passing under National Grid. Increasing speed, just like the past premises called the Bungalow on the near side, stand by. Temporary loss on the bends on the trees, stand by. Yeah, no, stand by. See the motion, those trees. He went quickly, he might have done a crash, stand by.
6-7, crash. Stand by.
Where?
Where? Where's it gone?
So this was a very unique incident, mainly due to the fact that this bike was like a super bike. They'd made this as fast as they possibly could. And I'm not sure what the legal ramifications for doing that are. The coroner, Mr. Pegg, told the court that the police road vehicles were nowhere near Mr. Sartain when he hit the Fiat 500 being driven by Karen Bourne, and then he hit a tree. The coroner also said that he might not have even been aware that he was being followed by the police at the time of the collision due to the distance between them. A post-mortem examination determined that Mr. Sartain died from multiple catastrophic injuries and would have died instantly. He also had drugs and alcohol in his system. The coroner concluded that the motorcyclist used cannabis prior to his death and had a modest amount of alcohol in his system. The coroner concluded that the clipping of Mrs. Bourne's car caused Alex Sartain to lose control of the motorcycle and leave the road and hit the tree. Nobody can know how Alex Sartain intended that day to end. Even after he had killed James Nash, nobody can be sure what was going through his mind at that time. And this is why it's so important that if you do feel you are in a really bad place and you think that the world is not what you think it is, you do need to reach out and try and get help where you can. Mr. Sartain's death was recorded as a road traffic collision. And the court heard about Alex Sartain's mental health history going back to 2008. Upon his release from being sectioned, Mr. Sartain's mental health deteriorated, and in June 2020 his father John contacted 111 and also his son's GP in Andover with concerns about him. The phone message to the Andover Medical Centre was not even passed on to the GP and only got as far as the receptionist. And I'm sure everyone can relate to receptionists that feel that they can decide who can see the doctor. And in this case, maybe that was detrimental to the consequences of what had happened. 2 times his father had tried to reach out to the system when his son had previously just been released. Mr. Pegg said at the Mr. Nash inquest that he would not be asking for a prevention of future death report in relation to it, as there had been clear changes in the practice since September the 1st, 2020, and a change of partnership as well. John Sartain told his sons at inquest that the calls that he made in June about Alex's mental health had showed signs of improvement, and in the immediate lead up to August the 5th, he did not believe that his son was a danger to anybody. He said that drugs changed him a lot, and until the end he had mental health issues, but the rest of it was contributed by the fact that he took drugs and that nobody was there to help him in his final moments. This is a really important story for so many reasons, because at the end of the day, when you're innocent like James Nash, he was just living his life, being a councillor, an author, he had a wife or a girlfriend, and then somebody that he didn't even know had an issue with him came and just took his life. Awareness is so important, because situations like this do happen, and we do need to make sure that we're supporting people that you care about and checking on people to make sure that they are not a danger to themselves or anybody else. Through lockdown, I'm sure every single one of us has been going through a journey on our mental health, myself included. And I feel like now we do need to make sure that we're supporting each other as we're coming out of this time to ensure that the future can be the best that it can. So I really appreciate you joining me today. Rest in peace to James Nash, and my condolences to the family of Alex Sartain. I really appreciate you joining me for this episode. I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Peace.